We're on. Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order.
Councilmember Scott,
Present.
Councilmember Silliman,
Present.
Councilmember Pinello,
Present.
Councilmember Lane,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Here.
Councilmember Beckwith,
Present.
Councilmember Michaels, recorded absent.
For an absent, but he's on the screen, but he can vote, so he can watch. Thank you for coming.
I'm here. Mayor, how are you?
All right, so see.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty.
As this is Child Abuse Prevention Month, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the thoughts and prayers of those who are being abused and not being recognized. Thank you. Nobody to speak on the privilege of the floor. Anybody? Mayor's reports. First I'd like to, is Billy Lund here? No, he's not here. So, okay, so we have a deputy of DPW, Billy Lund, started yesterday, and we're excited to have him aboard. I'm sure Nick's probably the most excited to help with his workload is pretty immense. Moving into Main Street, we had another meeting again today, our 2-week meeting in progress. This group that's working there is very diligent, very hardworking. Yesterday, started in the rain, finished late, like their work ethic, and they seem to be doing a great job of working hard at doing it the best they can. So it's, as you know, everybody's been down there, there's a big hole down there. It's quite the project for sure. So just the beginning, and certainly we've all heard about the trees, and I'm excited about the plastic palm trees in the future. And the flamingos.
Yeah,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, so it's gonna take some patience, and that's just the beginning. I think people realize and recognize once the sidewalks are tore up and start getting them back. So, but it'll be worth it in next year or so. But everybody seems to be mitigating it. I was downtown this weekend, and there's a ton, as the weather was great. Sure, Ms. Silman will have some different reports of the college students up on the hill, but there's a lot of activity downstairs or downtown with a lot of people, restaurants, and everybody seemed to be doing really well. So we got to keep that up. So hopefully everybody keep coming downtown. You can navigate around it. It's really not that bad too. It's kind of interesting to look at the equipment, make it a destination. Our Deputy Chief Tim Cate, it's his last meeting. He's done next Tuesday at 3 p.m. at the firehouse. There's a walkout, so I invite everybody here to attend that to appreciate Mr. Tim Cate's 21 years, I believe it is. So we can show our appreciation to him at that time, but this is his last council meeting. The big event for the college students is this Sunday. They have like 400 participants, a lot of areas that are going to get hit. So we're excited about getting some of that, those things worked out. And Stone Soup, the chief is working on, his event is Sunday as well. So if you can attend both or those events, that would be great to show your support of that. So lots of other activities going on in the city, and but I'm going to just leave it at that, and then we'll go to the award reports. Scott.
So since I was here last, we've had fielded some calls about bins, just sizes, what they meant, what they could do with them, so on and so forth. Everybody seems to be very, very happy with them. There's some questioning on placement from just a few seniors in the ward, and those were easy to answer. They were very, very happy. Had a meeting yesterday, myself, the mayor, and 6 constituents on Chestnut about some damage that was done to a road, some possible ways to make it easier for DPW to get in and out of a very, very small space. We're working diligently to figure that out so that it's easy for DPW and you know, brings the homeowners a little bit of peace of mind in the way things will work. We've probably got some work to do there that, you know, may require moving a few things around, but I think it'll be done pretty easy. Other than that, everything else is pretty quiet and we're going.
Thank you very much. So,
I am the liaison for the wastewater treatment plant, and we all got an email from Bruce Adams talking about how COVID's gone down in the community, which is a really good thing. And that we seem to have entered the endemic phase of this illness in our midst, as opposed to the pandemic phase. So it's here, it's gonna stay, but it doesn't seem to be as lethal because people have either been vaccinated or they've been exposed. And so that's leveling out. But in the meantime, there's something new that's come along, a new strain called Arcturus. Did I say that correctly? You think? Okay, Arcturus. It's mostly been noted in children. And there's not a lot of it in central New York, but with this strain, there's red, itchy eyes. So look out for that, and don't just think it's seasonal allergies. Do take it seriously. I don't know how serious the symptoms are beyond that, but I just wanted to put it on people's radar. And I think it's really cool that we're doing this testing and that we have a way to kind of monitor what's happening in the community this way. So thanks to the water treatment plant and to Bruce Adams for continuing with that. Well, with the switch to summery weather, we've had a lot of action in areas with student housing. This year, the trend seems to be towards buying huge inflatable pools and having pool parties in front yards. And so we've been calling the police a lot. We're just asking that people be courteous and think about the neighbors. You know, we understand that it's beautiful weather and people want to be outside, and who wouldn't want to be in the pool with a bunch of friends? So we try to let that go on until behavior seems to be getting out of control, or until it's been going on so long that we can't watch a movie without hearing it in our homes with the windows shut. So we're just trying to be fair to everybody. And the police have been wonderful in responding to phone calls. I trust them to take the complaint with consideration that a person might be just absolutely ticked off, and go and evaluate the situation fairly. And they do that, and they respond kindly and respectfully, both to the person making the call and to the people who they're going to investigate. I just think they do a really good job and they walk a fine line, so I appreciate that. The codes office and the police department have been ticketing cars that have been parking on the grass and on in front yards where you're just not allowed to, and also on sidewalks. And the sidewalks aren't made to bear that kind of a load. And you know, sidewalks are a big deal in this community. We don't want broken looking sidewalks. So we also have a lot of people parking up and down Clayton Ave, narrowing that road. And so the police and codes departments have been getting after those for us, and I appreciate that. I met with the voluntary board for the Portland Rural Cemetery, along with several of the colleagues here and the mayor. We had an update in a while, and I did not realize that the cemetery's deal fell through. The group in Buffalo who were going to be taking over that came as a big surprise. I was hoping that this meeting was gonna be about meeting the new people and, so that was a big disappointment that they are still in trouble and hopefully, will come up with a solution. And I just want to add that the DPW is helping me with this ongoing problem, and I appreciate their help as well. So that's it for the second report.
Thank you. Ms. Pinella.
So, couple of things in the third ward, and I too was at the Portland Rural Cemetery Board meeting last week, and I have actually volunteered to be their liaison, to work with them to see financially what changes they can make. So, I have been getting calls also about the conditions of the roads in the third ward. And the mayor and I last Tuesday afternoon, went out and did just about 50% of the city, looking at the different streets and, I have pictures. There are some issues that hopefully, working with Nick and DPW, we can address some really dangerous spots, within the city. And I think that's about it for me.
And Ms. Lane.
I also was at the Portland Rural Cemetery for that meeting, and hopefully we can help them out in some way, and I mean, Mary Claire will figure out something for them. People who were waiting for the small bins have gotten them, they're happy for now. Code and AJ continue to work on an issue that keeps cropping up, and the mayor also helped out with that. You know where it is. Yeah. And other than that, all good in the fort.
Thank you. Fine.
So haven't received some complaints since the warmer weather has been around until today, right? And, you know, noise complaints from the section of the Fifth Ward that has a number of college students, and so some of the folks in that community that are long-term residents, year-round residents would like to have a little bit more community policing in that section. As Katie said, you know, that fine line of, you know, looking at both sides of concern, having fun, while at the same time, you know, when it gets excessive, addressing it. So our folks do a fine job with that, but have received a number of calls in the Fifth Ward on that. As far as DPW, there's been some appreciated pickups within the ward of spring rubbish removal, lawn removal. And so thank you for that.
Yeah.
We do have some roads in the Fifth Ward that need some tending. No potholes like on Main Street, but at the same time, it's getting unsafe. Need some attention there.
That time of year.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what my hope is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Right,
I'll smell it.
Yeah.
right. Ms. Carter.
In the Sixth Ward, we didn't have any kiddie pools, but we had the Eamon Park, kids swimming there, this past weekend on Sunday, which is pretty dangerous. There were about 20, looked like college kids. I called the police and they corralled them up and got them off the beach, and they were swimming down there. Andrew, that's still gated down there, right? Yeah, so they were just down there. So that's about it for the Sixth.
No, you gotta comment on that, when you get old, you can't handle yourself, you gotta call the recruiter.
I can't do that. I'll end up getting beat up.
As you was all quiet, since you guys brought the cemetery up,
Yes.
I think you need to light on it more now that you mention it, because until that meeting, nobody knows what's going on, and I just really think it's important that, maybe, I think you should talk about it some more today. Please, it's one of you, or I will, and then you know that will be 30.
Mayor, why don't you say that?
Yeah, so, all right, is that all you had, Tom?
That's it.
So
It's an important topic.
Yeah.
Not the rules.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to offer as far as results yet, but Ms. Pinello offered to help and assist in trying to get some of the information first that we need to have, that's really try to do a thorough evaluation of, you know, what we need to do is the thorough evaluation of the assets and where the conditions are, where the condition problems are, whether it's buildings and infrastructures, the trees, the grading, the water diversion, drainage, streets, all of it as an overall view to try to figure out what can happen. I mean, they're having significant shortfalls every year. A lot more people are cremating than burying. They had a good presentation they put towards us to show where the decline has been coming in the past few years. They're really hoping for this deal to come through, that the group would come and purchase them out, buy that for what's done. They have quite a bit of endowment, but they can't touch that until they sell their last plot of land. Once that's closed, they can access that money and they can use that for perpetual funding, but unfortunately they can't get there. So they close it with cremations, they can't sell. So it's a big catch-22. I really feel for them. It's a hardworking board. They've worked really hard at trying to come up with the good solutions,
And all volunteer,
and they're all volunteer.
they're not walking away.
And they have not walked away, but discussions were that, but you know, so it was a very, they were very uptight and concerned because they love the cemetery and they really want to try to do the best they can. So any kind of ideas were kind of, you know, jumped on right away because they're a little bit tender, if you will. But I think in the end, I think we need to sit down, we need to evaluate that, because if they do get to the point where they can't do anymore, that would be a 44 acre, I believe it was, 45 acres. Piece of property right in the middle of our city surrounded by the college, would not be a good presentation. So we'll do everything we can to help them, but this is the first of probably many meetings, and I appreciate your help, Ms. Pinello, and trying to get some of the details worked out so we can try to take it to the next level. But we'll bring more public attention with them together, and trying to get state, federal, you know, historic, you know, I believe there's other areas that we can get help with, as well as help them get a long-term sustainable together for them. So, yeah, just another wheel that we need to get greased and hopefully get that resolved, so.
And I've already received 10 years worth of 990s and started to review them, so
Excellent,
we're already working on it.
thank you.
But again, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hard work.
My pleasure.
Yeah, if anybody can do it.
Well, thank you.
No pressure there. It's like-
No, I just.
But real quick, you guys, a lot of you guys are new, that they came to us a couple years ago, and time goes by, that, you know, we loaned them some money and we forgave them because the property was supposed to be sold to this company that was Katie talking about.
Right.
I think we're all surprised that it didn't happen.
So how many, I guess, how many acres are left unused?
Lots, I forgot.
Lots.
Yeah,
I don't know that detail was out there, but I would say,
We saw it in one of the mass
yeah.
fires.
I believe
quite
it's-
a bit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And, you know, people just aren't choosing to be buried, it's very expensive. And to have a financial, plan based on that, and then have that income fall off, I mean, what are you gonna do?
And yet they still have to take care of the property.
Pay employees, right?
Right, and they've done things like they have employees housed in the 2 buildings that they own as a partial payment, and they've done things to try and make the cemetery, more enjoyable for the community, so you can go walk there. They've got trees labeled, it's like a little arboretum. There are famous people buried there, and there's a map to, where those gravestones are, and it's just kind of and it was originally planned as a kind of park cemetery. It was a new design, back in the day. It was, people used to go through cemeteries and picnic and enjoy them like a park. So it's supposed to be a park-like setting. And they've tried to bring some of that feel back to it, which I admire. My feeling is it should be even more like a park. And people should be more invited to come in and enjoy this cemetery.
All right, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Beckwith. All right, moving to approval of the minutes. Get a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second. Mr. Pennell, Mr. Scott. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Resolutions. Agenda item number 1, authorize request for proposals and agreement for financial auditing services.
Resolved that the common council does hereby approve a special, oh, where are we? That's number 2. We'll start with number 1. Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize the mayor to issue a request for proposals for financial auditing services and to enter into an agreement for such services.
I'll move.
Mr. Pennell, Mr. Carpenter, any questions? This is our annual audit stuff. Over.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye. Agenda item number 2, approve special event and related permits for the Great Portland Pumpkin Fest.
Resolved that the common council does hereby approve a special event permit, a sound device permit without fee, an operating permit, and a street closure request for the Great Portland Pumpkin Fest to be held in Courthouse Park on October 7th and October 8th, 2023.
Ms. Lane. Mr. Beckwith. Not excited that this October, we're talking about something in October already. But this year's gonna be bigger and better. These, they have gone above and beyond, so I'm pretty excited about this happening. So, we'll get through the dairies rate first, right? So, any questions? Move it, please.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Then item number 3, affirm the issuance of a mobile ice cream vendor license to Schwann's.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council acknowledges and affirms the issuance of a mobile ice cream vendor license to Cygnus Home Health Service LLC, doing business as Schwann's Home Services.
Ms. Lane,
And I have a question. So is this,
let me get a second.
okay.
Oh, Mr. Thompson, okay, sorry.
Is this going to be like an ice cream truck, ring the bell, all the kids run out?
Yes,
What? Yes.
yeah, so the city clerk's office issues mobile ice cream truck permits.
Okay.
Schwann's has applied and received the permit for many, many years. They applied for it this year. Everything is in order to approve it in terms of insurance and all their other requirements. While there's not a requirement that it come to the council, I wanted to bring it to the council just so you're aware of it.
Okay.
So when I hear the bell, I know to run out.
Right.
Okay.
Decided not to try.
And it's a yearly permit.
Yes.
I haven't seen an ice cream truck in the city.
No.
Years.
There's actually another one that's discussing doing it.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. I think the youth bureau was doing something with a different one, so. They're coming back. Haven't seen one probably in 10+ years.
Yeah, well, easy.
Right. Be expensive, Mr. Thompson, in your house. Yes. Okay. Any good? Over, please.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter. Councilmember Beckwith.
On agenda item number 4, before I get a motion, I just want to make sure we recognize the last resolve, the number in the last resolve. It was a typo. It should read 135,000 as the resolution does up farther up inside of it. That was 39.8. And I just want to make sure you recognize that as well. Without seeing it, I didn't know that until I read it, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. By Portland standard, but So I just want to make sure we make a note of that in the minutes, that that's reflected. I mean, it's pretty apparent and it's pretty read that way, so I'm gonna ask for a motion to change it. So with that, agenda item number 4, authorize supplemental agreement number 3 with Fisher Associates for downtown revitalization project design services.
I'll move.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
Who's the second?
we gotta read those right now. Okay, thanks.
Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize Mayor Steve to sign a supplemental agreement number 3 to the engineering services agreement with Fisher Associates in the amount of $135,000 for the downtown revitalization project.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Scott. Any questions? Everybody got that adjustments? So hopefully this is not going to be much more of a, keep running into more vaults, more situations down there. The things that are buried in the ground. So we'll continue on. That's what these next 3 resolutions are. Anybody else?
Did we not have, is the mapping just that antiquated? For under the ground?
Now, some of this stuff is really old. It's been a while, that's for sure.
Good thing we're doing.
Yeah, it needs it, for sure. Not happy to be doing it, but we need it.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 5, authorize supplemental agreement number 4 with Fisher Associates for downtown revitalization project design services.
Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize Mayor Steve to sign a supplemental agreement number 4 to the engineering services agreement with Fisher Associates in the amount of $39,800 for the downtown revitalization project.
Mr. Carpenter, Ms. Silman, thank you. Again, some of these are older from last year and some are newer. We just grouped them all together. Some of it was during negotiations. We were discussing back and forth, trying to reduce some of the costs. That's why some of these were delayed and that's why they're all together. Okay, please.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 6, authorize supplemental agreement number 5 with Fisher Associates for downtown revitalization project design services.
Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize Mayor Steve to sign supplemental agreement number 5 for the engineering services agreement with Fisher Associates in the amount of $38,500 for the downtown revitalization project.
Mr. Carpenter, Ms. Silman. Anybody else? Move it, please.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 7, authorize sale of abandoned impound vehicles and appropriate impound scrap proceeds to the police department.
Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize the Portland City Police to sell 11 abandoned vehicles at the impound lot for scrap and place all proceeds of such sale into a budget line for operating equipment to be utilized towards the purchase of new police vehicles and equipment.
I move.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Carpenter. Questions? Over, please.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter, Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 8, authorize the creation of additional uniform sergeants in the police department.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council grants authority to the chief of police to increase the Portland City Police Department staffing by 1 uniform sergeant position in 2023, and also grants authority to hire 1 additional police officer position to backfill the vacancy in the patrol division created by the uniform sergeant promotion.
I'll move.
I second.
Mr. Allen, Mr. Scott. Discussion. I would like, Chief Sandy to come up. This is somewhat of a complicated issue in some aspects. I think it needs some clarification. Make sure everybody understands.
Good evening, everyone.
Or usually.
Make sure you're.
Thank you very much, and giving me this opportunity. The dynamics of the department have changed drastically in the past couple of years. As you know, we went through one of the biggest lots of manpower that we had had. And I've been here almost 40 years and we've never seen that many shortages. Which required us to dig deep, to find good candidates, to hire people, which we did. And right now, our department is at the former staffing levels that it used to be. I remember this council gave me 2 people in December, and then when we made the SRO part-time, that was another, so there was 1 per shift for my patrol people. Right now, we have 2 vacancies. One is a patrol officer and one is a cops position, which we will fill once off patrol. We have 3 in academy right now. So technically, there's 5 openings on the ship. But what this has done is we have 18 officers in our patrol division with less than 3 years on it. 1 with 4 years on it. So it's 19, that's 2/3 my department, my patrol force that goes out there and protects this city and protects one another. Very young, very talented. I will not take anything away from them for being young. They are talented, they're great, they're eager, and they do a fantastic job. However, our uniform sergeants, we have a 410 schedule that was implemented in 2013, 2015 contract. So 10 years ago. Because they work 4 10-hour shifts, that gives them 3 days off a week, so we're getting less coverage. There was no adjustment to time banks, so they have time to take off. So they're not always here even in 4 days. This was discovered a problem years ago, but instead of fixing it, or attempting it, they said, a detective sergeant was brought from the bureau, so we shorted our bureau and brought somebody out front to help with the coverage. This has been rectified in the current contract. The 410s are going to be eliminated through attrition. Okay, and replaced with sergeants working a 5-2 traditional schedule like everybody else. Currently, there's 4 sergeants because I took the 5th sergeant, put them back in the bureau because they're very busy back there. And we have a full-time drug officer that is doing a phenomenal job. So we have 3 with 410s and we have 1 with a 5-2. Because when I moved the 1 410 out back to become a detective, that was replaced with a 5-2. One of our 410 sergeants has already given us his letter to retire in June. We will replace that one with a 5-2, so we'll be 2 and 2. As other spots open, or as we move people out of the uniform sergeant to a different part of the department, we will replace with a 5-2, which gives us more and more coverage. The thing with our department dynamics is years ago, we had a much older department. We had officers that were seasoned veterans. We have an OIC clause or part of our contract, officer in charge. So when there is not a uniform sergeant here, a patrol officer is in charge of the patrol division. So if you got a 10 or 15-year patrol veteran doing it, it's not a problem. When you have a 2-year person, or at one weekend, I found out I had a 14-month officer that was in charge. Very capable young man. And St. Practice Day, I came in and worked because we didn't have the coverage at the time. And I had an officer with about 3 years running this show, who was handling calls. And the OIC is a difficult spot too, because you're also handling calls and then you're supervising other people's calls. And
you're just running in circles. And you're not allowed the opportunity to just supervise and jump from call to call. And I saw that firsthand at St. Practice Day, which is an unusually busy day. And, so I called in some sergeants and stuff, and we took care of it. I need a 5th sergeant position right now because I want to make a promotion in May. The police commissioner and I talked about a date early May to replace the sergeant in June. So it's about a month, and that would give this officer, this new sergeant, time to get acclimated to what's going on in this employment. Kind of like field training kind of thing. It's a seasoned officer, month will be fine. Civil service will not let me promote prior to the retirement without council granting authority for an additional sergeant. So you're talking about a month. The difference between a top patrol officer and a sergeant is $10,000. And you're talking a month, so you're talking less than $1,000. So the financial impact is not there. If given this 5th permanent sergeant, and I intend to promote until the fall when we have a new list, a new sergeant's exam is given in June. And we have a lot of people taking it. A lot of these junior people are very excited about it, and it's a good morale builder, it's a good career move, and they're very capable. And it shows them that they're valued, and down the road, we can send them for additional training. Because, you know, we can send them to supervisor school and all these other schools to give them leadership and get them out there. They are the future of this department, and they're doing a fantastic job. The reason we had a glut in the past of vacancies was we did a buyout. I was not in favor of it, because I saw what it was gonna do to us. So, you know, we offered an early buyout. We had retirements. We had a problem with our pay schedule being comparable to surrounding agencies. We also worked rotating shifts, which were not popular. Other agencies are working permanent shifts, all kinds of shifts that we don't have manpower for. So that created a morale issue because we ended up forcing people to work lots of hours because we have a commitment to this city. We also have minimum staffing in the contract that we have to put X amount of officers per shift on the road. 2022-2025 contract has addressed these issues. Even before the contract was signed, the council granted an MOU, putting officers at a permanent shift. That has increased morale tremendously. The wages in this are comparable to surrounding agencies. So that has stopped our young officers from leaving and going to other agencies. So we're not going to see that glut. They're very happy here. Other agencies are paying, some are paying more, some are even offering huge bonuses, you know, to sign, you know, $15,000, $20,000. They are actively trying to poach other officers from different departments because they are so short. This is all a cause of the political climate over the past few years, where the lists are very short, qualified candidates. And it's financially and it's scheduling wise, if you can steal a 2 or 3 year veteran from somebody else, you can put them on a roadblock and you can solve your problem. And if they've worn the test of time for 3 or 4 years, you know they're gonna stick it out. So this is why I need to search, because down the road, when we have 5 sergeants working 5 twos, we will be able to cover far more of the shifts and allow for time off. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna tell you down the road, I'll ask for 6, because then we could have 2 per shift We would have 24/7 sergeant's coverage. By having an OIC, it creates a liability issue for the city. So I'm telling you, by having a couple vacancies already in the department that are budgeted, we have the money to cover this. And by promoting this sergeant right now, you're only talking, like I said, less than $1,000, you know, for that month. And they would replace the sergeant, so that would be a wash. You'd be saving. And then down the road, by backfilling with a patrol officer, that young patrol officer would make $20,000 less than the senior officer we're promoting. So actually, you're saving money. It would push somebody ahead by 10,000 to fill us, then you would backfill with somebody making $20,000 less. So over the years, as younger people get promoted, that number would obviously reduce, but it is not going to be a serious financial impact for the city or this budget. We can make it work, and it is in the best interest of this department and this community to grant this position. And I hope you vote yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, I know, you know, the most, probably the biggest thing in lawsuits against police officers is not enough supervision. That's the biggest, cause of a lawsuit to the municipality, lack of supervision. That's always that comes back when there's an active shooter. You know, if there's no supervision, who told them to go in, that's where the city of municipalities will lose $50 million. Easily, when something like that. So you really gotta look at the liability. It's a huge issue when it comes to lawsuits and law enforcement. Is liability is to lack of supervision. Our department at Cornell has 2 sergeants per shift. One sergeant could take it off on the ship, the other sergeant stays. There's never 2 sergeants off on the ship. So that is the proper way of supervising, managing a police department. You have to have supervision. It does cost a little bit, but in the end, you're gonna lose a lot more without liability lawsuit.
And if we look beyond the money, the profession is not what it used to be. It's far more dangerous than it used to be. Our officers have come up against people with mental health issues who have brandished weapons against our officers. Thankfully, because of the training and the experience of our officers, they have not engaged these individuals who had either airsoft guns, pellet guns or something, and they're trying to provoke a shooting incident. We have good trained people. We have good people who use their head. And in addition to the potential for lawsuits is potential for injury or loss of life by young, inexperienced people trying to do the right thing. And we just had a situation the other day where a seasoned veteran made a call on a case and he waited for a shield, ballistic shield, before they made entry to a building on a potential suicide. Didn't know if it was an ambush, didn't know, if it was another, trying to provoke a suicide by cop. They called for a ballistic shield to make a safe entry for the officers. It was a seasoned veteran. And, command officer, had he been there, would have made the same decision. They went in safely. They did reach the person, unfortunately. The person had committed suicide, but there was very strong potential for that person to be an ambush or a suicide by cop, because it was a military person, had access to weapons. Very sad, very tragic incident, but because the right decision was made, it potentially saved people. So we have to look at that too, because that's what our officers are up against.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
For sure, it's trying times with mental health, sure. Well, hold it.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 9, appropriate annual Portland City Police bike sale proceeds.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council does hereby authorize the Portland City Police Department to conduct a sale of unclaimed bicycles and affirms the funds from the above noted sale can be divided equally between the Waterworks Steer Fund for purchase of winter hay and habitat improvement and the Portland Youth Bureau for the purchase of ice cream, which will be handed out to citizens throughout the parks over the summer as part of a joint Portland City Police Department and Portland City Youth Bureau community engagement effort.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Pinello, Mr. Thompson. Yeah, this is another great event. One thing I did forget to recognize the fire department, the youth department was Chester. Right? Did I get that name right? Eastern Line, I'm not sure. Peter Holden, I think his name after, but we really appreciate the hard work in doing that. I think it's a great way to get to people that can't always necessarily get out for those Easter eggs. But that reminded me of that. Thank you for that. And this is another great effort to do that. And again, that's where the other ice cream truck will come into play. I think at some point it would be kind of nice to do. Anybody else?
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Agenda item number 10, accept and recognize donations to the Portland Youth Bureau.
Resolved that the Portland City of, excuse me. Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council accepts the donations listed below and appropriates funds to the Portland Youth Bureau operating budget accounts outlined below. Donations from the Yeaman Foundation in the amount of $15,000 for Yeaman Playground. The budget line 7010.5206. Donation from the Central New York Community Foundation in the amount of $5,000 for an esports program. The budget line 7140.5405.
Mr. Carpenter. Mr. Scott. Andrew, I forgot to ask when I had a meeting today, when is that playground getting in for the Yeaman Park?
Lorraine was recommended of June.
Thank you to the Yeamans for that donation on that as well. And of course, the CNY Community Foundation for that.
And can we talk a little bit more about the esports program? Yes, like, is it gonna be housed in the youth bureau or?
It'll be the youth center, and they will have a summer program at Beaudry. Heather Johnson and I went up to the high school to view their esports program. Currently, they have 75 kids involved in the program, anywhere from athletes to musicians to just students. And it's a great mix of students up there who probably wouldn't interact with each other on a day-to-day basis. They are currently second, I believe, on the East Coast, the Cortland High School team. So esports is, it's like a video game. They do a lot at SUNY Canton now. It's actually a major. They have a dorm dedicated to esports. And our intern actually went to SUNY Canton and knows the professor who started it. So we've communicated with him and Mr. Herr at the high school as well. We've gotten a lot of information from both of them. So we're going to start a program this summer at the youth center, and then we'll have a summer tournament at Beaudry Park. So we use Nintendo Switches, and there's a couple different games. We haven't decided on which one yet, or multiple ones that we play. Yeah, but the Cortland High School team plays with kids from around the country.
It's a growing, video games continue to be a growing industry, but it's great that we're providing access to that right here in Cortland, and it's certainly a growing major across college campuses. besides, interscholastic competition. So it's good that we have something going on here.
We're excited to start it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
So the only basis of comparison I have is Wii bowling and Wii tennis and stuff like
They still
that.
have that, for the Nintendo Switch, you can still get those games, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think they,
Come on, is that what you think?
Oh, no.
That is beat myself.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the good stuff.
My 94-year-old mom does Wii bowling every week with a group. Where she
keeps
lives,
it
so,
going. There's badminton, fencing,
yeah,
so there's some new ones now in Switch too.
well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good activity to get people socializing and doing different, what they want to do and their interest. I appreciate you being ahead of the curve, if you will, Andrea, on the youth bureau for getting ahead of it for that. Thank you.
Mayor. Before we move to vote, here's another thing you gotta remember, here's another donation from the Young Gaming Foundation. You know, Gaming Park, donated to the park, they got money to keep this going right now, just like the cemetery, everybody donated money for all these years when people are passing away, the Whitwire family. You know, they donated Whitwire pool, and that money's gonna run out one of these days.
Yeah.
We're gonna be the same scenario, not just a cemetery, I mean, Gaming Park, Whitwire pool, and we run through this all the time, it's something we really gotta take heart and pay attention to, cause it's coming. The rich people are passing, and the young folks don't have any money to give back.
So what you're saying is rich people in the community step up.
They did back in the day.
Well, they still can.
Well, I mean, there's, you know, we got left in the gaming people, you know.
That's
it's-
what
Yeah,
they-
yeah, it's bad.
With that, we'll move it.
Okay.
I'm gonna dig myself in the hole.
Yeah. Move it, please.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Never know.
Say it.
No. Agenda item number 11, authorizing council proposals for renovation of existing Randall Park tennis courts to include pickleball and tennis courts.
Resolved that the common council does hereby authorize the Portland, the youth bureau director to issue a request for proposals to renovate the existing tennis courts to include pickleball and tennis courts, and further authorizes Mayor Steve or his designee to enter into an agreement for such services to be paid for by private donations and the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
I gotta give it to Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
I would certainly give it to our, yeah. Only because he's been playing longer, not that I don't want to recognize,
And Tommy.
and for
Yeah.
sure. Mr.
Keep them
Mike-
muted.
Mr. Mike,
It's a thing.
which is my, and this is a great thing, and, you know, pickleball is great, and we were able to try to do 8. And
8
2
pickleball courts, 2 tennis courts.
and 2 tennis courts, because we didn't leave that out.
That's right.
So, I think some of that work has already started.
Yeah, the old light poles from the tennis courts have been removed. The fencing has been started and will be finished, hopefully this week. Nick's been a huge help with his guys, helping us start the demo on it.
So, RFPs would go out and then we purchase it. We've got we're forcing some of the high spenders in our community to, which are still out there to help and offset the cost on this. And once we determine all that, we'll give a final report afterwards, but in the interest of time, because the asphalt plant opens and we want to get out there to get this done as quick as we can. So it can be, we got a good usable season. We want to move this so that we can have this happen faster. So that's why it's kind of accelerated in the word, if you will. Any other questions?
Let's play pickleball.
Well, I'll take you on, Mr. Beckler. That's right, it's a challenge.
I'm gonna start raising money now.
Do it.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to add is I should have put on here is the Parker School and it's scheduled to open the house for the group that did come in with that and try to do an open house to do that schedule. So be back with the committee and we'll try to figure out a time that you think would work best to try to do that presentation if you will,
Good,
right? And maybe even possibly our next meeting or something. We'll try to figure it out.
okay,
Okay,
good.
so let's get together and do that. Other than that, anybody else have anything else to add?
Well, I know we had a snafu with the agenda this time, but I was wondering if we could possibly get it before Thursday.
Right now, or at some point, yes, we'll work on that for sure. Our agenda right now, our currently, and we have a permanent meeting on Wednesdays to go over the agenda. And then make any adjustments or discussions that we need to have or even as it fit in. The wording gets adjusted Thursday and then gets out Friday. So that's the issue this time.
Right, there was a
But it was out to it's out to the public, definitely by Friday at the latest, but we'll do everything we can to make that happen.
It's just, I don't wanna bother staff on their weekends. And because I work, and then city offices are closed, people, you know, department heads are gone. It's hard to touch base with people with such short lead time, even when it's Friday, you know.
Yeah, and that's always, you know, those emails will be helpful, but we'll do everything we can to try to move it up to department heads on Tuesday. But remember, so for us that are doing it, we finish today. You know, a week and a day, we'll have our department heads meeting and have the agendas already done again. So we're already working on next month's agenda already, so there isn't a lot of time, really. There's 6 working days before our next department head meeting to get this all put together to happen. So sometimes it's more of those kind of devil details,
Sure,
trying to get information back than it is not getting it out. Getting it out is the easy part,
right,
but it's getting all this written and put together with the details that needs to be is the hard part. But we will keep trying always. I'm hoping with some more support help next month that maybe, no promises though, but we'll do everything we can. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn? Someone, Scott? We adjourn, thank you.